My beloved, listen closely. Before another silent tear touches your cheek tonight, know that I have seen every single drop you thought no one noticed. I was there, right beside your bed, when the darkness swallowed your voice and fear pressed against your chest so tightly you couldn't even breathe, let alone scream for help. You may have convinced others you were fine, but you could never hide from me. You wrapped yourself in strength for everyone else, but in the quiet, when the world was asleep and you were left with nothing but your pain, I saw it all. I didn't just watch you cry, I collected each tear like treasure, and they now cry out to heaven for justice, healing, and reward. Every suppressed sob, every trembling breath, every moment you said, "I can't do this anymore," was engraved in my heart. And I did not ignore it. You are not invisible to me, even when you feel like you disappear in front of everyone else. I am now responding with urgency, because the time for your silent suffering has reached heaven's tipping point. The bottle is full, and the release is coming. This isn't a gentle encouragement. This is a divine intervention. You're standing at the edge of reversal. The pain that was tolerated in silence is now turning into a divine roar of restoration. I have seen enough. I am stepping in. Not tomorrow. Not eventually. Now. That ache you've hidden from the world is about to be healed by my hand in public. The silence that held your tears will now echo with my promise. You will smile again, and this time, it won't be fake. It will be because I've wiped away every reason you ever had to cry. You may have felt dismissed, as if your agony went unnoticed by the people you hoped would understand. But I have kept record of everything they overlooked. I watched you sit in rooms full of voices that never truly heard your heart. I watched you walk among people who looked at your face, but never discerned your battles. You wondered if anyone cared that you were fading behind the smile you forced. And I want you to know, I did. I never needed your words to understand what was crushing you. Your sighs were louder than speeches in my ears. Every glance they ignored, I studied. Every emotional collapse behind closed doors, I gathered. They may have seen you as dramatic, too sensitive, or even weak, but I saw bravery. I saw the strength it took to get out of bed. I saw the courage in every step you took with trembling knees and tear-soaked prayers. You are not someone whose pain slipped through the cracks. No, your wounds were seen with precision. I documented the rejection, the betrayal, the confusion, and the fear. While others moved on like nothing happened, I paused to notice what broke you. I marked the moments when your soul silently screamed, "Why won't anyone see what I'm going through?" And now I am answering you with action. I am turning my attention into your miracle. I will not allow what hurt you to go unanswered. What was dismissed by men will be addressed by heaven. What they skipped over, I am returning to with divine justice. Your tears were not wasted. They were sown into a future you couldn't yet see. That future is beginning now. I am bringing forth restoration for every ignored ache. The parts of your heart that were never honored by people will be honored by my hand. This isn't a delay anymore. This is release. You were never overlooked by me. In fact, I've been preparing this very moment to remind you that nothing you've endured has been in vain. Your pain didn't vanish into darkness. It has been growing into a breakthrough that can no longer be held back. The path you've been on has felt endless, winding through valleys where clarity was absent and hope felt too faint to chase. You've been walking through dim moments where everything around you felt uncertain, and nothing ahead of you looked promising. Even when you tried to speak light over your circumstances, you could feel the weight of spiritual dusk surrounding you, moments where confusion and isolation crept in like fog. But I tell you now, those long stretches of shadow were not your final destination. They were the proving ground where your faith quietly stood its ground while your soul felt exposed to every storm. I have been watching you press forward without applause, without clarity, without confirmation, and that has not gone unnoticed by me. You were not lost, you were being led through preparation. It was necessary to pass through places where others could not follow, not because you were forgotten, but because I was preparing something deeply personal, something sacred, For you, and only you. The silence that surrounded you was not abandonment. It was insulation. I kept you from hearing voices that would have weakened your spirit. I shielded you from distractions that would have delayed the breakthrough I was building. And now, just as night gives way to morning, without struggle, without permission, your dawn is about to appear. I am ordering light to return to your atmosphere. The same environment that made you feel invisible is about to highlight your resilience. The same space that made you feel small is about to witness your rising. I have spoken to the horizon and commanded it to break forth with warmth, hope, direction, and strength. You won't need to force it. It's already underway. The shift has begun. Your mind, which hath been heavy with questions, is about to experience peace without explanation. Your heart, which has been aching in silence, is about to overflow with purpose. You will no longer walk in the shadows of your own life. I am bringing clarity to what was once confusion. Where things once felt blurry and dull, you will begin to see with sharpness and purpose. You will not just survive this turning point, you will bloom in it. And when the warmth of my presence begins to rise upon you like the morning sun, nothing will be able to stop the joy that follows. This is your awakening. Not a temporary uplift, but a permanent transition from darkness into a light that was crafted specifically for you. You've worn invisible scars like armor, shielding yourself from further harm while silently wrestling with the lies pain tried to tattoo across your soul. The circumstances that wounded you didn't just come to injure. They came to label, to convince you that your worth was permanently altered by what you endured. But I never authored those conclusions about you. That suffering you've been dragging through the days was never your identity. It was only a chapter, not the title. I am stepping in now to reclaim what trauma tried to rename. I am reaching into those quiet corners of your spirit where the deepest disappointments lie, where old voices still whisper that you are damaged, forgotten, or undeserving. I am tearing down those labels with authority because they are not yours to carry. You were not created to be a reflection of heartbreak. You were not formed in sorrow to remain bound to it. What tried to shape your destiny through affliction is now losing its grip under the power of my restoration. This isn't a patchwork repair. This is a complete transformation. The very places that felt permanently bruised are becoming launch points for my glory. You are stepping into a season where your narrative changes from endurance to celebration. The pages that were filled with anguish are now being overwritten with testimonies of hope. And not just subtle happiness. I am bringing overwhelming delight that drowns out the echoes of what used to torment you. Your memories won't sting like they used to. They will begin to serve as reminders of how far I've carried you, not of how long you were hurting. This shift is not emotional, it is spiritual. It is me, Jesus, writing the script that life tried to assign you without my permission. The tears that once fell from brokenness will soon fall from gratitude. What tried to claim ownership over your name is being stripped of its power. This moment marks the beginning of a new definition, one written not by your pain, but by my promise. And every place in your life that was marked by sadness is about to be infused with joy that doesn't expire, because it's born of my presence, not circumstances. This is divine authorship. And I do not make edits. I make all things new. This is the moment where divine destruction begins. The patterns that have followed you, the ones that seem to reset every time you made progress, they are ending. What kept repeating wasn't coincidence. It was a chain. A quiet grip around your joy that always tightened just as you tried to rise. You felt it every time something started to go right. The sudden shift, the unexpected setback, the emotional weight that dropped without warning. You started bracing for disappointment even in moments meant for celebration, didn't you? That was never my design for you. I never intended for you to live on edge, doubting the good because pain was always lurking nearby. That cycle, that spiritual loop of highs followed by crashes, was not of me. And now, I am not just interrupting it. I am demolishing it from the root. I'm reaching into the origin, the unseen source that kept recycling sorrow into every season. Whether it came through family patterns, personal trauma, or spiritual battles beyond your understanding, I'm removing it all. You don't need to figure out where it started to experience its end. That's my job, and I've already begun. The grip that sorrow had on your timeline is weakening with every word I speak over you. You are not cursed. You are not doomed to relive the same emotional losses in different forms. I declare that your history will no longer be your prophecy. I'm inserting my hand between you and the next attack that tried to form against you. The emotional ambush that used to greet your moments of progress is being intercepted. You will walk forward and not flinch. You will not fear joy, wondering when it will be snatched away. You will no longer expect collapse where I've destined you to stand strong. My presence is the shield now wrapped around your heart, and no pattern of pain will penetrate what I've sealed. This is your freedom declaration. No more circles that lead to sorrow. No more repeat performances of breakdowns. I'm planting you in stable ground, not sinking sand. Your emotions will no longer be on a roller coaster. The people sent to disturb your peace will lose access. The thoughts that sabotage your calm will be silenced. This is not temporary relief. It is permanent recalibration. I'm not patching the symptoms. I'm shutting down the source. This is the kind of change only I can make, and it's happening faster than you think. You are no longer a prisoner to the rhythm of recurring grief. You are being released into a cadence of stability, clarity, and hope. The chains that stole your laughter are falling off, and soon, you'll discover what it feels like to smile without wondering how long it will last. You've questioned the pauses, haven't you? Those moments when it felt like I went silent. When doors stayed shut longer than you expected and time seemed to stretch endlessly without reward. You looked at others advancing, celebrating, rising, while you stood still, waiting for a sign that I hadn't forgotten you. The wait wasn't easy. It chipped at your confidence. It made you wonder if you missed a step, if you weren't enough, if somehow I passed you by. But hear me now. What looked like postponement was actually divine preservation. You weren't being denied. You were being prepared for something that required extra care. The space you called stagnation was actually sacred ground where I was building endurance, depth, and capacity. If I had released certain things earlier, they would have crushed what I intended to bless. Some opportunities are only beautiful in their rightful time, and this is that time. You were never behind. You were never less than. You were simply being positioned with precision. Every delay was a disguise, hiding you from attacks that would have hit too soon. While you felt paused, I was orchestrating an alignment far greater than anything rushed by desperation. There are doors now swinging open that only my timing could unlock. They would not have been ready before, and neither would you. But now the atmosphere has shifted. Now the assignments are clear. And now your heart, once burdened with impatience, is stronger, steady enough to carry what's coming without it breaking you. And child, what's coming is too sacred to be mishandled by haste. I am not in a hurry, but I am always on time. The answers you've waited on are walking toward you now. The fulfillment of long-held prayers is unfolding in layers, not because I needed time, but because I value you too much to deliver anything incomplete. This is not just the arrival of what you hoped for, it's the unfolding of what I custom designed for you. It was never just about giving you something. It was about transforming you into someone who could sustain what's being released. Don't resent the waiting. It wasn't punishment. It was preservation. And now, the season of motion begins. What once confused you will soon make perfect sense, not through explanation, but through fulfillment. I am redeeming every second the enemy tried to convince you was wasted. Nothing was lost. Everything was stored. And now, the release begins. You looked around and saw stillness. No breakthroughs, no movement, just the weight of silence pressing against your expectations. You wondered if all your efforts had vanished into emptiness, if your prayers were ricocheting off the ceiling instead of reaching me. You whispered words like, "What's the point?" and tried to suppress the disappointment growing in your chest. But what you didn't see was what I was doing behind the veil. While your surroundings looked unchanged, I was shifting things beneath the surface, recalibrating timelines, redirecting plans, removing obstacles, and setting up divine intersections you had no idea were forming. Every moment you stayed faithful in the unseen, I was building a new structure around your destiny. It was not visible, but it was real. You weren't standing still. You were being elevated slowly, steadily, in a way that wouldn't collapse under pressure. What looked like absence was me working silently, deliberately, to turn every closed path into a launching place. I was reshaping people around you. I was softening hearts in places of authority. I was organizing resources, stirring favor, aligning future moments to collide with your obedience. I needed you to keep moving even when you felt blind, because that's where real trust grows, not when you can see the outcome, but when you cling to me even when you can't trace what I'm doing. There are things now moving toward you that would never have fit into the old version of your life. That's why I had to rearrange. That's why I allowed certain things to be taken. That's why some connections ended abruptly, not because you were abandoned, but because what I'm building requires different foundation stones. You won't have to strive to understand this next season. You'll recognize it as the evidence of what I was doing all along. Suddenly, doors will open without your effort. Suddenly, what felt far will arrive close. Suddenly, what felt locked will swing wide. But this won't be a surprise to me. It will be the unveiling of what I've been perfecting in silence. What felt like pause was protection. What felt like delay was divine design. What felt like disappointment was a doorway to something better. And now, child, now the evidence of all my silent work is coming into view. You will soon look back and realize that nothing was ever wasted. I was just making room for something far greater than you imagined. I know how hard it's been to walk through the chaos while feeling completely alone. The moments when thunder rolled over your thoughts and lightning crashed against your peace. Those moments tried to convince you that I had left you to face it all on your own. But that was never true, not even for a second. You weren't wandering without guidance. You were being surrounded with strength you couldn't see. The turbulence may have shaken everything around you, but it never removed you from the safety of my grasp. While the winds howl, I was anchoring your soul. While the storm raged louder than your prayers, I was sheltering you with my presence. The silence you mistook for absence was me holding you close enough to hear your heartbeat. You didn't feel me because I wasn't outside the storm. I was in it with you, shielding you from what could have shattered you completely. There were moments you thought you had nothing left, not another ounce of energy, not another breath to carry the weight of the day. But still, you stood. That wasn't your strength. That was me upholding you when your legs could no longer move. You survived things you weren't built to survive alone. You endured what should have destroyed you because I stepped in and absorbed the full force of what tried to collapse you. I carried burdens that never reached you. I blocked attacks you never even knew were sent. I made sure the damage was minimal, even though the pain felt maximum. The very fact that you're here, reading this, breathing, hoping again, that is proof that you were held the entire time. I don't let go of those I love, not even when they scream into the void thinking no one is listening. I don't walk away when things get ugly. I come closer. I press in. I speak peace while you're drowning in noise. This is why you didn't give up, because even in the worst of it, my hand never left your life. And now, you'll begin to see the truth you didn't feel, that the storm wasn't your ending, it was your refining. I used it to separate what was hurting you from what was holding you back. I used it to pull you into a level of trust deeper than you've ever known. And now that the clouds are breaking, you'll finally understand that you were never abandoned. You were wrapped in my arms the entire time. And I'm not done holding you. You've been watching the clock, haven't you? Counting days, measuring moments, wondering if anything would change before you ran out of strength to keep hoping. It's felt like time has betrayed you, like the longer you waited, the farther away your promise drifted. You even tried to convince yourself to settle, just to numb the ache of delay. But child, I need you to hear me clearly right now. I have never missed a moment. Not once. The calendar may not have aligned with your expectations, but it never overruled my purpose. I'm not governed by urgency the way the world defines it. I don't rush what I'm perfecting. I don't release what I've promised until it's been bathed in the fullness of my wisdom. My schedule is not based on pressure, it's based on perfection. What looked like slowness was intentional care. What felt like hesitation was preparation. And just when the enemy tried to whisper that it's too late, I am announcing the exact opposite. This is the appointed time. This is the moment when divine motion erupts beneath your feet. This is the second when spiritual gates are opening, when things you prayed for years ago are suddenly finding their way into your life with undeniable accuracy. The breakthrough didn't bypass you. It was just waiting for the exact alignment I foresaw all along. And now the season has shifted. Heaven's momentum is moving on your behalf with the force of everything I've promised. There is no more delay. The chains that held your progress hostage are breaking because my decree over your life cannot be reversed. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on the edge of manifestation. And while the world may call it unexpected, I call it precisely on time. I allowed certain things to stay dormant so you would grow in ways that could carry the weight of what's coming. I hid you not to punish you, but to preserve you. The waiting season built muscles in your faith that you're about to use. And now, you will step into spaces that once rejected you. You will receive clarity that once eluded you. You will walk through doors you didn't even know existed because they weren't meant to open until now. The shift is not subtle, it is sacred. It carries evidence. It carries change. And it carries me. I am not late. I am present. And I am declaring over your life, in this very hour, that what has been withheld is now being released, not randomly, but right on schedule. The delay is over. The shift is here. And it begins with you. There has been a weight pressing against your chest for so long, you almost believed it was part of who you are. It crept in slowly, tightening its grip, numbing your joy, stealing your voice, making your spirit quieter with each passing day. You stopped speaking about the dreams I planted in you because the burden of disappointment became too loud. You held back your thoughts, not because you didn't feel deeply, but because somewhere along the way, you were convinced your words didn't matter. But I want you to know, I never stopped listening. I heard what you were afraid to say out loud. I felt the pressure that built inside your chest, the invisible load you've been carrying while pretending you were fine. A heaviness. It wasn't sent by me. It came to choke your confidence, to bury your light, to make you believe that silence was your safety. But I am declaring something new over you now. That invisible force that's been smothering your spirit is breaking. Not gradually, not partially, entirely. You will no longer have to filter your expressions out of fear of being misunderstood. You will no longer shrink to fit into spaces too small for your voice. I am lifting the blanket of emotional exhaustion that's dulled your personality and made you question your value. The fog that kept your words tangled inside will evaporate, and what will rise in its place is clarity, strength, and freedom. You will not walk around suppressing your heart any longer. I am restoring your courage to speak. Your boldness will return, not out of pride, but because peace will live where panic once did. I'm not only removing the weight, I'm replacing it with power. The kind that helps you stand taller, breathe deeper, and express the fullness of who I created you to be. There will be no more rehearsing pain in silence. No more pretending to be okay just to keep others comfortable. This is your liberation, not just from sadness but from suppression. I'm igniting your voice again. You'll speak with conviction. You'll laugh without hesitation. You'll dream without doubting yourself. And the words that once died in your throat will now rise like a river, filled with life and purpose. What used to keep you quiet will now witness you rise. You were never created to live under pressure. You were made to carry my light, not invisible burdens. So now, I command the heaviness to leave, and I make room for your voice to live again. You've been waiting for a signal, haven't you? A moment, a word, a shift that screams, it's finally happening. But what you don't realize is that what you've been asking for has already begun. It hasn't been loud, it hasn't looked flashy, but my fingerprints are already all over what's unfolding. You thought the answer would arrive with noise, but I move in power even when the atmosphere is quiet. You've been searching the horizon for a sign, but the change began the moment your spirit refused to give up. The very decision to keep walking, even while you were weary, activated motion in the places you couldn't see. I've already opened the first of many doors. You didn't miss it. It's just moving in layers. My breakthrough doesn't always come like lightning. Sometimes it arrives like sunrise, steady, undeniable, and unstoppable. And that's what's happening now. You'll soon realize that the atmosphere around you is no longer the same. Conversations are shifting. Opportunities are aligning. People you thought forgot you are suddenly being drawn to remember. Resources are finding their way to you, not through manipulation, but through my orchestration. Things are coming together that you didn't even know needed repair. Your name is being spoken in rooms you haven't entered. Prayers you released with trembling lips months ago are now returning with fulfillment. You thought nothing was moving, but I've been setting divine movement in motion from the first tear you cried in faith. What felt like stillness was really a silent unveiling. This isn't anticipation anymore, it's activation. This is the moment where you stop hoping it will happen and begin walking in the reality that it already is. No more one-day declarations. No more doubting if I heard you. I did. And I responded. Not with delay, but with perfect unfolding. You are living in the beginning of what you've been waiting for. And soon, it won't just be visible, it will be undeniable. This isn't the prelude, it's the fulfillment in motion. Your miracle didn't skip you, it started with you. And now, it's picking up speed. Prepare yourself not for arrival, but for acceleration. It's not coming, it's here. There's been a battle raging inside you. Not one the world could see, but one that echoed in your inner thoughts every time you tried to believe again. That voice, that ruthless whisper that insisted nothing would ever change, that tried to make you question your worth, your purpose, your future. It wasn't just loud, it was persistent. It crept into your quiet moments, showing up when you were most vulnerable, after the world had gone to sleep and you were left alone with your thoughts. It twisted memories, exaggerated failures, and poisoned hope. You've wrestled silently, torn between the truth I planted in your spirit and the distortion that tried to root itself in your mind. But no more. I am intervening with authority. That voice, the one that told you to give up, the one that made you feel small, unlovable, or forgotten, is being silenced, not negotiated with, not reasoned with. Shut down. My truth is stepping in like a sword, cutting through every toxic narrative that ever claims space in your heart. You are not weak for struggling. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not defined by what was done to you or what you didn't accomplish. And you are certainly not disqualified from joy, healing, or destiny. That inner critic you've been trying to outrun. I'm not asking you to fight it anymore. I'm removing it. My voice is louder now. My word is becoming the foundation under your feet, and it will no longer be drowned out by lies. I am restoring clarity to your thought life, peace to your emotions, stillness to your storms. You will wake up without that heaviness whispering doom over your day. You will go to sleep without rehearsing everything you didn't do right. I am turning down the volume of self-doubt and turning up the sound of my love. You will begin to recognize my truth with greater ease, not as a concept, but as your new internal compass. Your mind is being renewed. Your heart is being rewired. And where chaos once shouted, calm will now dwell. You will hear me clearly, and my voice will not confuse you. It will strengthen, not accuse. It will uplift, not belittle. From this moment forward, despair loses its grip. The lies have no legal ground. My truth reigns. And in this sacred exchange, you will begin to think differently, speak differently, and live differently, because now, finally, the truth is louder than the torment. So many of the tears you've shed were over moments that tried to convince you they carried the power to ruin you. You looked at disappointments and thought they were signs of failure. You examined closed doors and believed they were evidence that something was wrong with you. But I need you to understand, not every heartbreak was a sentence of defeat. Some were shields I placed in your path. Some were detours from traps you didn't even see. You mourned outcomes that felt like collapse, when in reality, they were coverings. You grieved relationships that walked away, not knowing I removed what couldn't walk with you into where I'm leading you now. You internalized pain that wasn't meant to linger, it was meant to reveal. Reveal what? That your value is not connected to outcomes. That your calling isn't tied to people's approval. That your future isn't held in the hands of anyone but me. You cried over things that tried to look permanent, but they were never meant to stay. And now, I am lifting the sorrow that clung to those seasons. I am severing the emotional ties that kept you connected to memories that wounded you more than they helped you grow. I'm bringing healing to places you didn't even know were still sore. You would carry those moments like baggage anymore. You'll carry them like evidence, not of damage, but of deliverance. The very situations that tried to break your spirit will now testify of your resilience. I am giving you new eyes to look back and see my protection woven into what looked like chaos. You will no longer revisit old moments with tears of regret, but with peace that says, God knew better than I did. This is a new era for your emotions. No more tears wasted on chapters I've already closed. No more mourning what was never meant to stay. I'm redirecting your focus from what was lost to what's being found. Joy is returning, not the shallow kind, but the kind that grows in the soil of understanding. You'll laugh again without guilt. You'll trust again without fear. And most of all, you'll stop weeping over what I already removed for your protection. I know it hurt. I know it lingered. But today I declare, the grief attached to what tried to destroy you is over. What once stole your peace will now have no permission to touch your future. It is finished. There have been things taken from you, not just tangible possessions, but inner treasures, moments, and pieces of your soul that you never offered freely, but lost along the way. There were parts of your peace that were shattered by betrayal, segments of your self-worth that were chipped away by words spoken too sharply, seasons of opportunity that slipped through your fingers not because you weren't ready, but because circumstances or people pushed them beyond your reach. You've tried to move on, but deep down, there's been a quiet ache for what should have remained, not out of bitterness, but because you knew something valuable was stripped from your hands unfairly. And today, I'm addressing that silent ache. I saw it all. Every closed door that was meant for you but was slammed shut prematurely. Every conversation where your heart was mishandled. Every situation where you gave more than you received. And I did not forget. I have not ignored the justice that your soul has cried out for. Restoration is not a concept to me. It is a promise I am fulfilling right now. What life tried to drain from you, joy, identity, clarity, dignity, I am pouring back into you in greater measure. What others didn't return, I am replacing with my best. Not the leftovers of what once was, but something entirely new and undeniably better. This isn't compensation. This is elevation. I am not returning things to the state they were before the loss. I'm increasing them beyond recognition. What was stolen will not return broken or bruised. It will come back healed, multiplied, and sanctified. I'm even restoring what you forgot you lost. The dreams you buried so deeply you stopped remembering how much they mattered. I'm bringing them back to life. The confidence you gave away to survive certain environments, I'm rebuilding it with strength you never knew you had. The connections that were severed without closure, I'm giving you new relationships that don't just replace, but surpass the ones that hurt you. Nothing lost in my presence stays gone. Nothing surrendered to me remains broken. I am reversing the damage and rewriting the narrative. They may not return what they owe you, but I will. And I never miss anything. I repay in full. I restore with abundance. And I heal with intentionality. Get ready, because the empty places are about to overflow. The silence is about to echo with celebration. The deficit is about to become overflow. I'm restoring more than you asked, because I saw more than you realized. The time of being overlooked has ended. Now comes the time of being restored in full. There were seasons where you stopped hoping for happiness because the sorrow lasted too long, and even the thought of joy felt like a distant dream meant for others but not for you. You did stop believing in me. You simply stopped believing that anything could change enough to truly make you feel whole again. You adjusted to emotional survival, learned to function with numbness, and convinced yourself that small moments of relief were the best it would ever be. But I am here to shatter that ceiling. The joy I am about to release into your life isn't an echo of the past. It's a brand new sound that has never existed in your story before. This is not recycled gladness or temporary relief. What's coming isn't ordinary, it's supernatural. The kind of joy that isn't attached to what you own, where you live, or who stays or leaves. It's the joy that flows from knowing you are fully seen, fully loved, and fully backed by me. This joy is rooted in truth, not trends, not approval, not external outcomes, but in the unshakable reality that you are my child and nothing can undo that. I am placing in you a joy that will withstand storms, a gladness that won't dissolve under pressure. It will rise like a wellspring from within, not something you have to chase, but something that finds you. The pain that taught you to expect the worst will no longer hold you back from welcoming the best. I'm removing the armor you built around your heart and replacing it with celebration that cannot be faked, nor taken away. You won't have to force a smile anymore. It will come from a place that is finally healed. Your laughter will return, and this time, it won't feel guilty or cautious. You'll be able to enjoy the blessing without fearing that something bad is around the corner. I am clearing away the fear that good things won't last. I'm reversing that inner sabotage, that reflex that braced for disappointment every time something went right. This joy will redefine your normal. Where there was once dread, there will now be delight. Where anxiety once whispered, anticipation will shout. And it won't come from performance or achievement. It will flow from presence, my presence, anchoring your life in promise and peace. The days ahead are not filled with recycled sorrow. They are filled with brand new wonders. And you will not just witness it. You will walk in it. Step by step, your life will become a canvas of joy painted by my hand. Not because everything will be perfect, but because you will be unshakably grounded in my goodness. This joy is not coming, it's meeting you now. Step into it. You've replayed the same thought countless times in your mind. What if it never happens? You tried to silence it with faith, but the ache of waiting made it louder. You looked at your surroundings and convinced yourself that maybe the breakthrough was reserved for others. You heard testimonies, celebrated victories that weren't your own, and still smiled while something inside you quietly whispered, "But what about me?" That quiet sorrow, that inner resignation, began building walls around your expectation, and you began to prepare your heart to live without what you once believed for. You stopped speaking about it. You buried it deep, just to avoid the sting of disappointment one more time. But listen closely. I never buried what you gave up on. I kept it alive. I've nurtured the very things you grieved. While you mourned the delay, I was preparing the delivery. And now, the appointed moment you feared would never come is standing on the threshold of your life. It's not a fantasy. It's not a possibility. It's real, and it's near. You won't have to chase it down. It will meet you at the exact intersection of obedience and surrender. I have brought it to you, not through your striving, but through my design. This is the fulfillment of prayers you whispered through tears. This is the manifestation of every silent yes you gave me when no one else saw. It's not just a blessing. It's a divine appointment, It's been written in your timeline since before you took your first breath. And though fear told you it passed you by, I never let it slip away. I reserved it. I refined it. I wrapped it in timing that protects, not delays. And now, I am placing it before you, not to test your hope, but to crown your faithfulness. You will recognize it not by fanfare, but by the undeniable peace that accompanies it. It will not make you strive. It will not confuse your spirit. It will settle you, ground you, and remind you that I always finish what I start. You do not have to fear it anymore. This is not a tease. This is not almost. This is the moment. It has arrived. What you once believed might never show up is now within reach. And this time, you won't lose it. You won't sabotage it. You won't doubt it into delay. You will walk through the door I've opened, and what you find on the other side will silence every lie that ever told you it was too late. The wait is over. The moment is now. There are parts of your story that have remained open, not because you wanted them to, but because you didn't have the strength to bring them to an end. Loose ends that kept haunting your thoughts, situations that never gave you the closure you needed, memories that clung to your spirit like unhealed wounds. You tried to move forward, but it always felt like something was pulling you back into unfinished emotional battles, decisions that were forced on you, people who left without explanation, and seasons that ended abruptly without peace. You kept telling yourself to let go, but the weight of what was unresolved kept draining your energy. You thought healing would come when someone said sorry, when they came back and made things right, or when you finally understood why it happened the way it did. But child, healing doesn't depend on their apology, and peace doesn't wait for understanding. I'm stepping in now to close those pages with my hand, not because you've figured everything out, but because you've reached the end of what your heart can carry alone. The parts of your life that felt stuck in endless loops of overthinking and emotional heaviness are being sealed by my authority. You won't have to keep searching for answers that never come. You won't have to sit in the tension of what if and why not anymore. I'm not just closing those chapters. I'm healing the parts of you that were written into them. I'm wiping away the pain attached to those memories. The conversations you wish you could go back and change, I'm giving you freedom from their grip. The misunderstandings that left you broken and unheard, I'm righting the impact they had on your identity. You will not carry the debris of unfinished pain into your next season. I am cutting the emotional cords. I am binding the open wounds. I am closing what should have been closed long ago, not with bitterness, but with finality drenched in mercy. And what comes next will not look like what was behind. You'll feel lighter, not because you forced healing, but because I released it over you. You'll walk forward, not because you're pretending everything is okay, but because I've actually made it so. There's no need to go back and make it all make sense. I'm offering you something better, release without regret. Freedom without having to fix what broke. Trust that I am the author of your story, and where you ran out of words, I will finish the sentence. You no longer have to stay attached to incomplete endings. Today I am declaring them closed, not in defeat but in victory. And from this point on, you will move forward, unchained, unburdened, and unafraid. You've quietly mourned things that slipped through your fingers, not with loud cries, but with quiet resignation. The kind of loss that doesn't announce itself with chaos, but quietly erodes your spirit over time. The relationships that slowly drifted without goodbye. The confidence that vanished in moments of deep uncertainty. The opportunities you never got to embrace because fear or circumstances shut the door before you could reach it. You didn't always talk about what was gone, but you carried the absence like a weight that lingered in your chest. You told yourself to move on, to be grateful for what remained, and you were, but something inside you always wondered, will it ever return? Will I ever get back what I didn't even have the strength to grieve properly? Hear me now. I haven't forgotten a single thing that left your life quietly. I've seen the invisible places where disappointment settled in, and I've made a promise to myself to restore you beyond the point of what was taken. I do not merely return what was lost. I increase it. I multiply it. I transform it into something far greater than you imagined when it first left. This is not compensation out of pity. This is reward birthed from my justice. Every ounce of peace that was drained, I am replenishing with overflow. Every connection that vanished without reason, I am replacing with covenant-level relationships that carry honor, depth, and safety. The talents and time you felt were wasted, I am reviving them with speed and acceleration that will astonish you. What seemed like years lost in the wilderness are about to turn into testimonies of divine restoration. You see, I don't just restore what the enemy stole. I give it back soaked in my favor. What was small will return large. What would lay will come suddenly. What was buried under silence will rise with undeniable clarity. You will not have to beg for what's coming. It will find you. It will meet you in the very place where your hands felt empty and your heart felt abandoned. I'm bringing it back not as it was, but as it should have been. This is your redemption season, and nothing will be withheld. The seeds you sowed in obscurity, the prayers you released with trembling faith, the tears that watered the soil of your obedience, they were never in vain. I am the Lord of restoration, and I do not return things halfway. I return them full, blessed, and unmistakably marked by my hand. What you thought was over is being reborn, and it will not come with sorrow, it will come with celebration. Prepare your heart, because what's returning will not resemble what left. It will be more, much more. You never sought applause. You didn't obey me so someone would notice. You didn't pray to be admired. You stood firm in the hidden places, when no one was clapping, when no eyes were watching, when your sacrifices were unseen and your kindness was never acknowledged. You made decisions that cost you something, even when the results didn't come quickly. You kept serving, kept giving, kept believing, not for recognition, but because you loved me. And while the world might have overlooked your quiet faithfulness, I never missed a single moment. Every silent yes, every unnoticed act of obedience, every time you forgave without a witness, every time you gave without expecting anything in return. You sowed deeply, faithfully, and silently, and now I am bringing those seeds into full bloom. This isn't about status. This isn't about spotlight. This is about the revealing of what I've been cultivating in you when no one else knew what it cost you to keep trusting. I'm not rewarding you for performance. I'm honoring the depth of your consistency. I'm putting my stamp of approval on what the world dismissed. What's about to unfold in your life will be undeniable. Not because of your striving, but because of your surrender. I'm opening doors that weren't even on your radar. I'm surrounding you with voices that speak life and opportunities that stretch far beyond your qualifications. And it won't be accidental. It will be intentional, because I am positioning you to receive openly what was developed privately. You won't have to explain it. You won't need to defend it. It will be clear that my hand is on your life, and none of her pride, for purpose. I'm placing you where your influence will be used to heal, to inspire, to reflect me. What they thought was small, I am magnifying. What they overlooked, I am now amplifying. But not so you can prove anything, so I can showcase my goodness through someone who chose to stay true when it would have been easier to walk away. You were faithful with little, and now I am entrusting you with more, not because you demanded it, but because you stewarded what I gave you with honor. The promotion is not about you, it's about what I'm doing through you. And it starts now. Your private battles were not for nothing. Your unseen victories are about to produce visible reward. What I whispered to you in the quiet is about to echo in places you never expected to be called into. And when it happens, you will know. It was never because you were loud. It was because you were loyal. I saw you all. And now, the release has begun. You've carried pain in places no hand could reach and no voice could articulate. These weren't surface-level scratches. They were deep, invisible bruises tucked beneath the smile you trained yourself to wear. You moved through the world composed, but your soul often trembled under the weight of what you never had the words to express. Some wounds weren't even caused by what was done to you, but by what was never given. Affection that never came, validation that was withheld, safety that was absent. You adjusted to living with emotional fractures, quietly adapting to the ache, pretending it didn't matter as much as it did. But I saw it all, the brokenness behind the silence, the tears that never fell but lived constantly behind your eyes, the desperate ache for someone to just notice that you weren't okay. And even when you didn't bring it to me directly, I began working in those places, not forcefully, not harshly, but with precision and tenderness. I've been applying my presence like balm to the fractured pieces of your identity. In moments where you felt forgotten, I was restoring your sense of worth. In seasons where rejection echoed louder than truth, I was whispering reminders of who you are to me. While others saw your behavior, I was attending to your broken beliefs, the thoughts you carried since childhood, the silent vows you made to protect yourself, the inner narratives that told you not to trust, not to feel, not to hope again. I didn't rush the process, because real healing takes time. It isn't about pretending nothing happened, it's about facing what did and letting my love write a different ending. And now, as this deep healing reaches its fullness, you'll start to feel the difference. The fear that once froze you will melt. The tension that lived in your chest for years will ease. The numbness you call strength will be replaced with joy that doesn't need to be earned. I am not leaving any part of you untouched. You are being made whole, not just in behavior, but in being. You'll speak without anxiety gripping your voice. You'll connect with others without anticipating abandonment. You'll rest without guilt. And most of all, you'll look in the mirror and no longer see someone fragmented, but someone formed anew. The world didn't know where you were bleeding, but I did. And I've been there the whole time, restoring you from the inside out. The healing is already happening, and you're about to live in the freedom that comes when the deepest wounds are no longer hidden, they are gone. There were moments when the pain was so sharp, you questioned whether you'd ever recover. You didn't just lose peace, you lost parts of yourself. You tried to keep going, but something inside you felt fractured beyond repair. And even when the world moved on, your inner world stood still at the scene of the heartbreak, trying to make sense of what happened, trying to understand how something so painful could be allowed to touch you. You may not have said it out loud, but deep down, you wondered if you would ever feel whole again. You saw yourself surviving, but thriving. That felt impossible. But I need you to hear me now. That experience does not get to define you. What wounded you does not get to hold your identity hostage. What hurt you doesn't get to own the rest of your journey. You are not a prisoner of that moment. I am severing the emotional authority it tried to claim over your life. You are not weak because you were broken. You are stronger now because you allowed me to rebuild you. I didn't just walk with you through the heartbreak. I stood guard over your spirit, refusing to let the pain infect your purpose. The very event that tried to snatch your joy is now being overruled by the power of my presence. I've wrapped your soul in strength. I've surrounded your mind with truth. And now, what once crushed you will be the very area where I empower you. I am turning that wound into wisdom. Not so you will live guarded, but so you will walk boldly, knowing that no blow can destroy what I have redeemed. The disappointment that made you retreat is being replaced with courage to re-enter life with open hands. The betrayal that made you question love is being healed so deeply that you'll be able to give and receive affection without flinching. I'm restoring your emotional safety. You will not have to protect yourself by building walls anymore. I will be your covering. You will not have to toughen your heart to keep it from breaking. I will make it whole again. That heartbreak may have shaken you, but it did not shatter the destiny I've declared over you. It was painful, but it wasn't permanent. And now, not only will it no longer break you, it won't even define you. You'll look back and see that I was weaving strength into your foundation, even through the tears. This is your rising moment. Not in defiance, but in quiet confidence. You're still standing, Not because the pain wasn't real, but because my promise is stronger. What once tried to break you down is now the very place I'm building you up. You've cried silently in places where no one could see. You laid awake with a heart too heavy to carry and eyes too tired to stay open, yet still wet with tears that came uninvited. You've mourned not only what was lost, but also what never happened, the dreams that did unfold, the moments you hoped for that never arrived, the prayers that went unanswered in the way you expected. Grief has lingered like a shadow, wrapping itself around your joy, making it difficult to laugh without remembering what hurt. And yet, through all of that, I've been working in the background, not just comforting you but cultivating something new beneath your sorrow. You see, I never let your pain be wasted. Every tear you shed watered ground you didn't know existed. Every cry that echoed in the night has been absorbed by heaven, not with pity but with purpose. I am not just removing the sadness, I am replacing it with something far richer. A divine reversal is already underway, and soon, the evidence of my restoration will overwhelm your emotions in the best possible way. You will find yourself laughing again, not to hide your pain, but because it no longer controls you. Your joy won't feel forced. It will burst forth naturally, as if your soul has remembered how to breathe again. The sorrow that once lingered will no longer have a place in your atmosphere. I'm shifting your emotional climate. The clouds are clearing, and rays of joy are breaking through. What once pressed you down is now being transformed into the very thing that lifts you up. I'm not asking you to forget the tears, I'm showing you how they are becoming seeds of joy. Where there was mourning, there will be music. Where heaviness once reigned, there will be dancing. You will laugh in places you once broke down. You will smile in moments where you used to hold back pain. And it will be temporary. This laughter will be rooted in revelation, not just that I healed you, but that I never left you during the sorrow. I've been nurturing joy in the soil of your suffering, and now the bloom is inevitable. This harvest isn't based on chance. It's a guaranteed return on the pain you surrendered to me. You're not stepping into random happiness. You're stepping into promised joy. And it's coming in waves, in layers, in moments so sacred that they'll take your breath away, not from pain, but from awe. So prepare yourself, because what's ahead will not look like what's behind. You've wept long enough. Now it's time to laugh without restraint. What you've endured didn't just shake your emotions, it shook your foundation. You lost more than peace. You lost parts of your identity. You began to second-guess your strength, your value, your role in my plan. Even in the midst of faith, a quiet instability crept in, not loud enough to cause collapse, but strong enough to cause uncertainty. You smiled on the outside, but inwardly you questioned if you'd ever truly stand firm again, not just surviving, but secure. And today, I want you to know that I'm not here just to soothe what hurt. I'm here to rebuild what broke. I'm anchoring you again, not in temporary relief, but in unshakable joy. A joy that does not depend on how others treat you. A joy that isn't defined by favorable circumstances. A joy that lives deep in your spirit and refuses to be moved by the chaos around you. I'm giving you a new base to stand on, one that won't crack under pressure or fade in the storm. You are not fragile anymore. I am reinforcing your foundation with my presence, and it will become clear that what once threatened to undo you no longer has access to you. I'm not merely placing a bandage on your past. I'm establishing a new way of living. This joy is not just an emotion. It is your inheritance. It's your strength. It's your birthright as my beloved. And this time, it will not slip through your hands. It will remain because I am the one giving it. The joy I give is sustainable. It doesn't vanish when the world turns cold. It remains rooted when the noise tries to return. You will wake up and feel gladness before anything gives you a reason to. You'll begin to walk into places that once drained you and feel renewed instead. Not because things got easier, but because you got stronger, because I've filled you with something unbreakable. You will laugh in storms. You will rejoice in trials. You will feel lightness where there used to be weight. And the people around you will notice. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because real restoration speaks without needing explanation. What I'm doing in you now will become evidence of my power. You'll become a living display of what it means to be healed from the inside out. And that joy, that deep, holy joy, it will be the sign. You'll no longer reach for old patterns to cope. You'll no longer revisit pain to feel alive. My joy will sustain you in the mornings and carry you through the nights. This is the season where your soul remembers how to rest, how to rejoice, how to breathe without the ache that used to sit in your chest. I am not just comforting your wounds, I am crowning you with gladness. And what I establish, no one can remove. You thought your words disappeared into the stillness. You wondered if your whispered cries were too faint, too broken, too buried beneath emotion to be heard. You didn't shout, not because you didn't feel deeply, but because exhaustion had worn your voice thin. You prayed in fragments, offering me whatever was left of your strength, hoping that maybe, somehow, it would still reach my heart. It did. Every syllable, every tear-stained sentence, every sigh that said more than language ever could. I was there, not just listening but leaning in. Your quiet petitions were not overlooked. They were planted. And now, what you sent up in secrecy is about to return to you with public power. The answers are coming, not softly, but boldly. Not subtle but undeniable. I'm not just sending a solution. I'm sending signs. I'm making sure what I release into your life cannot be dismissed or explained away by coincidence. I'm doing it in a way that leaves no room for doubt. This was me. This was my hand. This was my answer. The things you prayed in private. The rescue you begged for when no one knew how desperate you were. I've already begun to answer in full. Doors are about to open that no man could manufacture. Favor is being assigned to you that no system could justify. Healing is being released in ways that no medicine could guarantee. Restoration is coming in ways that go beyond repair. I'm making things new. I didn't forget the nights you cried quietly into your pillow. I didn't ignore the mornings you pressed forward even when nothing inside you felt like moving. You prayed not to impress me. You prayed because you knew I was your only hope. And I never disappoint those who come to me sincerely. I've stored those prayers like precious treasure. I've recorded them all. And now I'm acting, not just to change your life, but to honor the faith it took to keep talking to me when nothing seemed to shift. Prepare yourself for wonder. Prepare yourself for the kind of breakthroughs that rewrite your understanding of what's possible. What you've released in prayer is returning with more power than you anticipated. And not only will your situation shift, the people around you will witness what happens when I answer a surrendered heart. They may not have seen your midnight tears, but they will see my morning miracle. Your quiet cries are giving way to loud celebration. What was spoken in the dark is being fulfilled in the light. I am responding, not out of obligation, but out of love. And when I respond, I don't whisper. I move mountains. I know the delay tested your endurance. I saw how hard it became to remain hopeful when time kept stretching and nothing visible seemed to shift. You began to question if maybe you were being withheld from something others received freely. You looked at the pace of others' lives and wondered why yours seemed stuck in slow motion. You didn't ask for more, you simply asked for movement. And yet the stillness kept you in tension. It made you feel overlooked. But I want you to see it clearly now. You were not being held back. You were being made ready. I wasn't delaying the promise out of punishment. I was preparing you to hold it with strength and maturity. The wait wasn't wasted. In fact, it was the very place where I forged what couldn't be formed in seasons of speed. You didn't need more time to earn my love. You needed more depth to carry my blessing. And that takes process. That takes space. The waiting season wasn't empty. It was layered with purpose you couldn't fully perceive in the moment. While it felt like you were in a holding pattern, I was laying new groundwork beneath your foundation. I was widening your capacity. I was removing shallow attachments, I was refining your discernment, sharpening your resilience, and teaching you how to trust when there was no evidence. That's not punishment, that's divine construction. I knew the magnitude of what I'm bringing into your life, and I refused to let it land on ground not yet ready to hold it. Because I don't just bless, I build. And what I build, I sustain. So instead of rushing, I rooted you. And now, the fruit that's about to come forth will last. It won't just be a moment, it will be movement. The kind of transformation that doesn't just shift your life, but shapes your legacy. And because you allowed me to work in the wait, because you didn't give up when it felt pointless, I can now release what hath been in preparation all along. The fulfillment is not coming randomly. It's coming right on time. And when it unfolds, you'll understand. I didn't forget you. I was forming something too sacred to rush. You weren't left behind. You were brought deeper. You weren't overlooked. You were being remade. And now, what once looked like a delay will be known as the beginning of your greatest becoming. You've known what it feels like to carry weight that doesn't belong to you. You've worn invisible chains made of fear, guilt, and pressure, not always from your past, but sometimes from expectations others placed on your shoulders. You've called it responsibility. You've called it strength. You've even called it normal. But I never meant for you to carry that much on your own. You've walked with burdens tucked inside your thoughts, clenched behind your smiles, hidden in the pauses of your words. You've gone through entire seasons pretending to be strong just to avoid unraveling. But I saw the toll it took on your heart. I felt the heaviness you tried to silence. And now I'm stepping in, not just to lighten the load, but to remove it completely. This is more than relief. This is liberation. I am untying the knots that anxiety wrapped around your spirit. I am dismantling the systems of striving you thought were necessary to survive. You no longer have to earn your worth. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to please everyone to be safe. You are already mine, loved, chosen, seen, and held. And with that truth comes a kind of freedom the world cannot give. It's not just the absence of pressure, it's the presence of peace. It's waking up without dread. It's breathing without bracing for bad news. It's walking into rooms without shrinking. It's showing up in your full identity, without apology. You are not a prisoner to who you were or what happened to you. You are not chained to the opinions of others or the mistakes of your past. I have broken every spiritual bond that tried to keep you small. Freedom is not a future destination. It is your present reality in me. And you will feel it. In the quiet, in the chaos, in the mundane, and in the miracles. The freedom I give will touch every corner of your existence. You will no longer live under internal war. The tormenting voice that kept you second-guessing will be silenced. The fear of failure, the pressure to perform, the constant questioning, all of it is losing its grip. I am replacing it with calm confidence. Not arrogance, not numbness, but holy rest. The kind that allows you to breathe deeply, move intentionally, and love freely. This is the freedom where joy is your normal, peace is your rhythm, and identity is no longer up for negotiation. You survived long enough. Now it's time to live, really live, as the free, whole, fearless child I created you to be. The door is open. Step through it. There have been invisible forces trying to hold you in place, patterns you didn't choose, thoughts you couldn't silence, emotional weight that clung to your ankles like chains while you tried to walk in faith. You've tried to shake it off through discipline. You've tried to pray your way through it. And still, something always seemed to drag you backward just as you started to gain momentum. You wondered if it were your fault, if maybe you just weren't strong enough or faithful enough or focused enough. But child, listen carefully. It was never about your strength. What tried to keep you trapped wasn't just natural, it was spiritual. The cycles of delay, confusion, guilt, and fear were designed to drain your hope and convince you that progress was impossible. But today I speak a different word over your life. I am breaking every invisible anchor that has tried to keep you tied to places you've outgrown. Every repetitive pattern, every internal limitation, every agreement you unknowingly made with fear or doubt, I am severing it. Not by force of will, but by the power of my spirit. You are not meant to live stuck. You are meant to live sent, released, equipped, and carried by grace. And now that I've exposed what's been holding you back, I'm not just removing it, I'm replacing it. Where there was hesitation, I'm placing courage. Where there was heaviness, I'm imparting joy. Where confusion clouded your vision, I'm bringing clarity like morning light. You won't have to second-guess every step anymore. I'm aligning your feet with purpose and giving you traction to go forward without slipping. You'll sense the shift not only in your surroundings, but in your own thoughts. The indecision will quiet, the mental clutter will clear, and your spirit will begin to respond to me with immediate peace instead of inner resistance. The hesitation that made you question everything is leaving. The fear of what could go wrong is being exchanged for the assurance that I am with you. I'm not just helping you survive this season, I'm empowering you to move with purpose through it. No more standing at the edge of destiny too afraid to step in. No more circling the same emotional wilderness. The exit is open. The way forward is clear. And you're not walking alone. I've placed new strength within you and new direction ahead of you. What kept you immobilized no longer has authority in your life. This is movement. Holy, deliberate, unstoppable movement. What once resisted you will now have to release you. You are not going back. You are going forward, because I have declared it so. You didn't ask to be pushed aside. You didn't seek out the silence that followed when people stopped showing up for you. You gave fully, your time, your trust, your loyalty, only to be left wondering what went wrong and why you weren't enough to be chosen, kept, or defended. The sting of rejection left more than a wound. It built quiet insecurities that told you to be smaller, quieter, safer, so it wouldn't happen again. You tried to not take it personally, but the truth is it did touch something deep. Because you were never made to be dismissed. And yet, I need you to understand something now. What rejected you did not define you. It protected you. You thought you were being cast aside, but I was removing you from what could not carry your calling. I watched as you stood in rooms that couldn't contain your heart, as you gave to people who didn't have the capacity to value what I placed in you. And every time someone left, every time a door shut unexpectedly, every time you were passed over or misunderstood, I was steering you. Gently, purposefully, redirecting you not because you were unworthy, but because what I designed for you required different soil. You were never meant to settle in shallow places. And while you grieved those losses, I was preparing environments where your gifts would flourish, not be overlooked. The emptiness they left behind has become space for me to move freely. And now I'm bringing you into connection with what will nourish you, not deplete you. The no they gave you was the yes I needed to position you correctly. You'll look back and thank me for every unanswered text, every closed opportunity, every relationship that faded without explanation, because you'll see how clearly I used each moment to protect what I'm building through you. Your value was never in their acceptance. Your purpose was never in their permission. I removed what couldn't grow with you, and now I'm planting you where your roots can deepen without fear. And when the fruit comes, when the impact multiplies, it won't be in spite of the rejection, it will be because of it. I'm transforming what was meant to wound into the very path that leads to your elevation. What once made you weep will one day make you woo. The redirection you once resented will soon be the very reason you rejoice. You spent so long running on empty, pouring out even when you had nothing left to give. You smiled through the depletion, gave encouragement while your own soul felt hollow, and stayed present for others while silently aching for someone to notice you were fading. You didn't stop loving. You just stopped feeling alive. It wasn't always dramatic. Sometimes it was subtle. The loss of desire for things that once lit you up. The quiet fatigue that settled into your spirit. The numbness that crept in where joy used to live. You tried to keep moving, but the well inside began to dry. And even when you prayed, the answers seemed delayed. But I want you to know, I was never distant. I was attending to deeper roots. You weren't being punished. You were being refined. And now, the drought is over. The places within you that once felt parched are about to experience an outpouring that cannot be manufactured. I am releasing a fresh infilling, not just to make you functional again, but to make you vibrant. You will not have to pretend to be okay anymore. You will be. You won't force energy, you'll wake up with it. You won't fake your joy. It will bubble up from places you thought had permanently shut down. The wells of your heart are being reopened, and it won't just be enough to sustain you. It will overflow. You'll speak with passion again. You'll love freely without the fear of being emptied. You'll feel again, deeply, richly, fully, not in a way that exhausts you, but in a way that revives your soul. I'm restoring color to places that turned gray from emotional survival. I'm returning laughter that doesn't have to be guarded. The dreams you put on pause because you didn't have the strength to chase them, I'm reigniting them with supernatural energy. This isn't a temporary uplift. This is a sustained outpouring. And it's not dependent on perfect conditions. It's flowing because I said it's time. I'm breathing new life into the chambers of your heart that forgot what fullness felt like. A numbness will not remain. The fatigue will not linger. The ache will not define you. You are moving from dryness to abundance. And when the overflow begins, it will touch more than you. It will refresh others around you, because your healing will not be silent. It will echo through every part of your life. Your words, your relationships, your choices, your presence. This is the revival you didn't even know you needed. And it starts now. Not because you earned it, but because I love you too much to leave you empty any longer. There were things that stole your voice, not your literal words, but the part of you that once knew how to express joy freely, how to speak your heart without fear, how to share your thoughts without hesitation. Over time, pain made you quiet. Disappointment taught you to hold things in. You began shrinking parts of yourself, not because you didn't care anymore, but because it felt safer to stay silent than to risk being misunderstood, dismissed, or hurt again. You adapted. You survived. But in the process, the vibrant sound of your soul faded into the background. You began to believe that your silence was strength, but it wasn't peace, it was protection. And now, I am here to give you something greater than safety. I am giving you your voice back, not the one you used to defend yourself, but the one that carries the sound of who you truly are when you're whole. You will sing again, not out of obligation, but out of overflow. You'll laugh without holding back. You'll speak without filtering every word through fear. The pain that once muted your spirit is losing its grip. I am reversing the impact of every moment that made you shut down. Whether it was betrayal, loss, rejection, or shame, I'm reaching into those moments, not to erase the memory, but to remove its power to silence you. I'm healing you in such a way that the very places where you were once quiet will become the places you now declare my goodness. You won't just whisper prayers of survival. You'll sing songs of celebration. You'll walk into rooms with a presence that carries healing, not hesitation. And it won't be performance. It won't be forced. It will come naturally, because when I restore, I don't just return. I redeem. I'm not giving you back your old voice. I'm giving you a new one, stronger, deeper, wiser, more filled with love, clarity, and conviction. And the people who once overlooked you will begin to notice. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because the sound of freedom cannot be hidden. You were never meant to live in the silence of wounds. You were meant to echo the songs of heaven, songs of hope, of identity, of truth. And now, as I lift the burden that hushed your spirit, your song will rise again. It will rise through joy. It will rise through peace. It will rise because I am doing something new within you, and it will be heard. I saw you lying there, motionless in the dark, while your mind raced and your heart pounded with thoughts you couldn't silence. The clock kept ticking, but peace never came. You tried to breathe deeply. You tried to pray. You tried to quiet the storm inside, but it seemed like every nightfall just intensified the weight you were already carrying. You didn't always cry. Sometimes the ache was just numbness, a hollow feeling that kept you staring into the silence, wondering if morning would ever feel like relief again. You questioned if you were losing yourself in the stillness of those long nights. You carried burdens you didn't know how to share and battles no one could fight for you. And even when you kept smiling during the day, your nights told the truth. You were exhausted. But even then, I was near. I was not distant from your suffering. I was sitting beside you, holding space for your soul, sheltering you in the moments you thought you were alone. And now, those very nights are becoming the backdrop of my glory. What the enemy meant to use against you in the silence, I am reclaiming as evidence of my faithfulness. The nights you thought would break you are now becoming the very proof that I sustained you when no one else could. You may not have seen the shift, but I was working in every hour of stillness, planting strength where there was fear, anchoring hope where despair tried to grow. And now, I am redeeming those hours. Where there was anxiety, I am placing supernatural calm. Where worry used to pace your heart, I am pouring in peace so rich it silences every fear before it forms. You will rest again, not temporarily, but deeply. Your nights will no longer be battlegrounds. They will become sacred spaces of recovery, dreams, and refreshment. I'm restoring your ability to sleep without carrying the weight of tomorrow. You'll close your eyes with confidence, knowing that I never sleep, and while you rest, I will keep working. The hours that once echoed with dread will now be filled with assurance. I am redeeming your nights as a sanctuary, not a struggle. And more than that, I'm using those experiences to strengthen your witness. Because when you testified, you won't just speak of daytime miracles, you will speak of how I carried you through the darkest hours. Your story will carry power because it was formed in silence, sealed in surrender, and now declared with boldness. I am rewriting your nights, and from this moment forward, rest will be your portion, because I am the keeper of your soul, even in the dark. There were people who watched your pain not with compassion, but with cruelty. They didn't offer comfort. They offered criticism. Some laughed quietly behind your back while you struggled to hold your life together. Others labeled your weakness, not knowing the strength it took for you to keep showing up day after day. They saw your setbacks and assumed they were final. They judged your delays without understanding the depth of the spiritual battle you were facing. Their words pierced you, not because you believed them, but because they came at your most vulnerable moments. You stayed silent, not out of weakness but out of wisdom. You did retaliate, even when their mockery stung. You chose dignity. You chose to keep trusting me, even when the ridicule felt unbearable. And now, I speak this over your life with full authority. Every person who misjudged your pain, every voice that made light of your struggle, every observer who assumed your story was over, they will witness the transformation I've prepared for you. Not so you can prove them wrong, but so I can prove my faithfulness to you. Your healing will be visible. Your elevation will be undeniable. Your redemption will be so complete that those who once left will fall silent in awe. This isn't about revenge. This is about vindication. I am your defender, and I do not overlook those who endure in silence. You bore their words with patience. You carried your cross when they mocked it. And now I will lift you in a way that honors the private battles you never made public. The same people who questioned your future will be present when I reveal the promises I've spoken over your life. And they will see that what they mocked was actually a moment of refining, not defeat. I will prepare a table in their presence, not to shame them, but to show that my favor does not depend on popularity, approval, or the applause of the crowd. It flows from intimacy, obedience, and the quiet strength of those who remain faithful when it hurts. I'm turning the narrative. The same ones who minimized your process will now be compelled to acknowledge your progress. The insults will fade, but your influence will rise. What once embarrassed you will become a banner of triumph. Not because you fought back, but because you stood still and let me fight for you. And when the elevation comes, you'll carry it with humility, because your heart was formed in the fire, not in applause. This is the part where everything begins to shift, and it will be seen by all who once said it never would. You walked through more than most people know. While others saw glimpses, I saw it all. Every restless moment, every clenched jaw behind a forced smile, every deep inhale that tried to push panic back down. You've held your breath in rooms where you felt unsafe, in situations that demanded composure when you were barely holding on. You didn't realize it, but you've been carrying the tension of 1,000 unresolved thoughts, heavy emotions, and unspoken griefs. Your lungs may have moved, but your soul forgot how to breathe freely. You adjusted to living in a constant state of alert, preparing for another disappointment, bracing for more rejection, surviving one battle only to sense the next approaching. But child, I'm reaching into that place now, not just to comfort you, but to release you. The breath that's coming next isn't just oxygen, it's deliverance. It's the kind of exhale that unravels every knot inside, the kind that tells your body you're safe now. I'm removing the spiritual weight that's been sitting on your chest for far too long. You won't have to carry the tension anymore. You won't have to live guarded, waiting for something else to fall apart. This new breath is sacred. It's soaked in my peace, not manufactured calm, not shallow coping, real, lasting, anchored assurance that I've got you. You won't have to strive for it. You won't have to earn it. It will come naturally, because where my spirit dwells, there is liberty. And my spirit is filling you right now. Every breath forward will feel lighter than the one before. Not because life will be perfect, but because the storm inside you is finally still. Your thoughts will no longer race each other into exhaustion. The pressure to figure everything out will ease. Your heart will stop preparing for pain and start making room for peace. I am restoring the rhythm of rest to your being, the flow that comes when you are no longer trying to survive, but truly live. The healing I bring affects every part of you, and you'll feel it, not as a flash, but as a steady stream of calm that enters you deeply and teaches your soul that peace is not a moment, it's a presence. My presence. You are no longer suffocating beneath the burdens of yesterday. I've cleared the air. Breathe it, child. Breathe, because the atmosphere has changed. Your next breath is not just another inhale. It's the beginning of freedom. You searched in every direction, trying to understand where your breakthrough would come from, asking, waiting, wondering. You've questioned if you missed it somehow, if the answer came and passed you by while you were distracted by pain or drowned in survival. You looked at others finding clarity, while you walked through fog. You assumed the delay meant distance, that what you've been waiting for was far away, out of reach, beyond your grasp. But today, I'm shifting your perspective. It was never far. It was never hidden from you, only hidden for you, waiting for the moment I would open your eyes to see what has been beside you all along. You were never without help. You were never navigating blindly. What you called confusion was actually me protecting you from choosing what wasn't ready. What you called silence was me slowing you down so that you didn't rush into something beneath your calling. I've kept the answer close, not to tease you, but to teach you how to trust even when you couldn't trace. I wasn't late. I was lining things up with such precision that you couldn't perceive it until now. And here's what you need to understand. Revelation is about more than timing, it's about alignment. I am now aligning your heart, your awareness, and your atmosphere so they can finally recognize what's been growing right in front of you. The door didn't suddenly appear. I'm just now allowing you to see it clearly. The next step isn't being created. I'm now giving you permission to walk through it. It's closer than you think. What looked like wandering was actually circling the very territory I prepared for you. The solution isn't far. The confirmation isn't delayed. The right relationships, the right direction, the right resources, They're emerging now not because they just arrived, but because you are ready to receive them. I've cleared the fog. I've lifted the scales. You're about to have moments where clarity will hit you so deeply, it'll feel like breath filling your lungs after holding it for too long. Suddenly, the waiting will make sense. Suddenly, the pain will feel purposeful. Suddenly, you'll look around and realize I've been guiding you more closely than you ever knew. You'll wonder how you didn't see it before, but don't condemn yourself. The timing had to mature. And now, what once felt distant is within reach. What once felt buried is breaking through the surface. Keep your eyes open, not in fear, but in faith. I'm not just bringing the answer near, I'm revealing that it's been here all along. There were moments you sat in stillness so thick it felt like I had walked away. You waited, hoping for a word, a sign, anything to remind you that I was still with you. But instead, you were met with quiet, a kind of stillness that echoed through your emotions and made you wonder if maybe your prayers had grown too weak to reach me. You began to search your own heart, trying to find out what went wrong, trying to determine if you had missed something, said something, failed somewhere. But you need to know now, my silence was not a verdict. It was a strategy. I wasn't absent. I was operating behind the veil. Sometimes, the greatest moves I make begin in the quietest moments. Just because I wasn't loud didn't mean I wasn't moving. The silence wasn't a pause, it was preparation. I was arranging situations you couldn't yet see. I was shifting hearts, closing doors that would have misled you, preparing resources and people you didn't even know you would need. My silence was a sanctuary where I protected your future from distractions you weren't even aware of. And just when you thought nothing was happening, I was setting the stage for something that cannot be explained by natural effort. You were never forgotten. You were being positioned for sudden change. That's how I move sometimes, not gradually, but all at once. After the silence comes the shift. After the stillness comes the surge. I allow the quiet so that when the breakthrough arrives, there's no confusion about where it came from. You'll know it wasn't by chance. You'll know it wasn't manufactured. You'll know it was me. Because there will be no logical trail, just undeniable evidence that something divine stepped in. I've timed this moment precisely. You didn't miss it. You didn't ruin it. You didn't delay it. You were held in place until everything aligned. And now that it has, get ready. The interruption is coming. Not a disruption, but a divine interruption. It's going to break cycles. It's going to erase delay. It's going to shift the entire atmosphere of your life. You'll wake up one day and the things that used to weigh you down won't even have a place to land. I will do in days what you couldn't do in years. And you'll look back at the silence not as a season of abandonment, but as the very space where I built the miracle you're about to walk into. Trust me, what's about to happen will make sense of everything that didn't. Amen.